Hi everyone, Adam here. As you can see, I had a little accident the other day, ran my face into my car door, and that's extremely embarrassing, but hopefully it will give me a cool scar, so it is healing up right now. But today's topic is vegetarianism, and it's from a friend on Twitter. He was asking essentially what is the best way to, handle a vegetarian diet. Um, so I've talked about vegetarian and vegan diets before, and I'll say that I think that they're awesome. I think that they can absolutely be a healthy choice for a lot of people. I think at the same time that they can be a problem for a lot of people as well, and they may, there's certainly no magic bullet. They're not going to make you live forever. There's no, it's not going to, make you, poop, rainbows and just make your skin bulletproof. That's not how it works. So, one of the biggest problems that can happen with vegan diets, it's often that, there's a lot of restriction going on, and that can make it hard to adhere to, or hard to get, essentially all the nutrients that you need. When it comes to vegetarian diets, your options are certainly, you've got a lot more options. It's certainly a lot more relaxed. At the same time, one issue that can affect both of them is it's important to understand that food quality does matter. And a lot of the garbage foods out there, the highly processed foods, are plant-based, Like, I'm not telling you to eat Cheez-Its all day, for example, because that's, basically just a highly processed food that's made out of, that's plant-based. It certainly does count as vegetarian or vegan, but that's not the kind of food you should be eating. And I've seen plenty of, vegetarians and vegans who, eat a lot of junk food anyway, and then, they're unhealthy, or, they are, struggling to control their weight. And so it's important to understand that it's not a magic bullet. Again, it's not going to magically make you lose weight. You do have to focus on eating good foods. So the two things I tell, the two basic things I tell a lot of people. I actually made a post about this on Facebook the other day. The two most basic dietary changes that most people need to make, and that they'll see the biggest results from, are eating more protein and eating more fruits and veggies. Now, a vegetarian/vegan diet does encourage you, obviously, to eat more fruits and veggies, and that's great. The problem is that because you don't have, basically your meat, which is, one of your big protein sources, it is much harder to get your daily protein intake in. Now, luckily, vegetarians can still eat dairy, can still eat eggs, and so that's, a good protein source for them. Vegans, of course, this is a much bigger issue for, because they really can't eat much of anything that has a lot of protein in it. Typically, the intake that most people want to benefit the most from is about 0.8 grams per pound of body weight per day. This is high. This is certainly high. A lot of people will consider this high. This is probably higher than you're normally eating, but it's not, it's not absolutely nuts. Typically, we'll see, bodybuilders and other, super big fitness fanatics saying stuff like, 1 gram of, per pound of body weight per day, 2 grams, 3 grams, something crazy like that. And that's just not, that's not what you want. That's just way too much for the ordinary person, and it's really not helping you much. Above the 0.8, it really doesn't do much for you. It's not unhealthy necessarily. It's not a bad idea, but it just becomes more and more difficult to actually adhere to consume, because even 0.8 is hard for, some people. So for example, a person my size, 200 pounds, 0.8 comes out to 160 grams per day. And 160 grams per day, if you think about, a serving of meat is typically about 25 or 30 grams of protein. Same thing with a protein shake. So, you're looking at basically 5 or 6 servings of, meat or, whatever per day. And that's what we typically have, is the mythical mixed meal that is, magic. Not magic. The highly recommended mixed meal is basically, just some amount of a protein source, some amount of a carb source, some amount of a fiber source, so, fruit or veggie. Now, of course, when you are a vegetarian or a vegan, your options are, are a bit more limited again because you don't have, you can't have, animal proteins. So, one big thing I recommend is to look into supplementation in terms of a protein powder of some kind. Luckily, whey protein, the most common protein and usually the cheapest, is derived from milk, so it's fine for vegetarians. It's not okay for vegans, but there are still other kinds of proteins. There's stuff like pea protein, there's stuff like soy protein. They're a little bit more expensive, they're harder to find. You may have to, search out an online retailer that can mail it to you, but it can still be done. Another consideration is amino acid profiles. Essentially, there's this concept of amino acid, or basically protein complementarity charts, and I think that goes a little bit far. But essentially, there are some things in particular that animal proteins tend to have higher quantities of stuff like leucine, stuff like carnitine, which are leucine is one of the amino acids that's responsible for a lot of the muscle building properties of protein in general, and so supplementing with it can absolutely be useful, particularly if you're in a situation where you're just not getting a ton of animal-based proteins to begin with. So I do recommend what's called the BCAAs, the branched chain amino acids, of which leucine is one. Are essentially you can buy a BCAA supplement and add that to your to your protein shake or to your daily consumption, whatever. In terms of fitness, that's going to help you again build, maintain muscle, and that's for virtually everybody. Building and maintaining muscle is a good thing. We're not going to get into people having misgivings over building muscle and so on, because there's a lot of misgivings and misconceptions about how muscle works and what muscle is good for and so on. But just understand that 9 times out of 10, more muscle or maintaining muscle that you have is basically a good thing. So those are some major considerations, particularly if you're highly active. It doesn't matter what kind of activity you're doing, if it's endurance training, if it's training to build muscle, if it's training to build strength, whatever it is, you're going to need that protein to, again, help maximize protein synthesis, which means that you're, again, building as much muscle as you can, maintaining as much muscle as you can, getting the most out of your workouts, recovering, optimally as quickly as you can. So, that is a big focus when it comes to vegetarian and vegan diets that I would say a lot of people sometimes slip on. I'll say that again, I have nothing against vegetarian and vegan diets, and they can absolutely be a wonderful choice for a lot of people. I think that in some cases there is a lot of dogma surrounding these diets. There's a lot of there's just a lot of fanaticism that doesn't necessarily line up with what we know scientifically and so on. So again, focus on getting more protein in. Focus on maybe supplementing with some kind of BCAA. Focus on maybe getting a protein supplement to help you hit your protein targets. Whatever it is, and always as always, just stay active, stay busy. Do some kind of exercise. Particularly if you're trying to manage your weight, that's going to help a lot more than just diet alone. That's really about all that I have on the subject. As always, like, comment, share, tell me what you want to see in future videos. I'll talk to you guys next time. Have a good one.